5 names, 5 vanished lives, and a bridge that stood for 800 years, grinning like a bone-white ribcage in the woods. In 2017, Elias Green became its 6th victim. His last text, "See you in an hour." His car, still parked at the trailhead. His body, gone. But here's what they won't tell you. Devil's Bridge doesn't just hide secrets. It swallows its victims whole. So ask yourself, why do the missing always leave behind whispers, but never their screams? Every cursed place has a story, but Devil's Bridge? It has a throat. Let me take you back to 1213. A village starving, crops rotting, a river too wild to cross. Then one morning they woke to this. A bridge arched like a spine, cobbled with stones no quarry in the region could match. The builder? A shadowy figure in the tavern the night before. A man who left coins stamped with symbols villagers burned, but couldn't forget. That's how the legend began. For centuries it festered. Travelers spoke of a voice humming beneath the bridge's arches. Shepherds swore their goats refused to cross, bleeding like they'd seen hell itself. In 1632, a priest tried to exorcise it. They found his journal 3 days later, pages scrawled with IT laughs, and his cassock stuffed with blackened reeds, still dripping river water. But legends? They're just campfire stories, until someone proves them. Enter Elias Green. October 14th, 2017. A crisp autumn day. The kind where sunlight dies the moment it touches the bridge. He'd heard the rumors, sure. Who hadn't? But Elias was a skeptic, a geology student. He came to study the bridge's unnatural stonework. To laugh at the myth. His last text timestamped 3:09 p.m. LOL sis, place is creepy, but it's just a pile of rocks. 20 minutes later, a fog rolled in. Thick, sudden, like the bridge exhaled. Hikers downstream heard it first, a low, wet crunch like stone grinding teeth. Then nothing. No footsteps. No shouts. Just the river's hollow gurgle. When the mist cleared, Elias was gone. His camera? Still recording. 47 minutes of fog, and a single blurred frame of something crouched on the arch too large to be a man, too jagged to be stone. The sheriff called it pareidolia, a trick of the light. The locals? They didn't call it anything. They just hung garlic over their doors that night and nailed iron horseshoes to the bridge's entrance. A warning, a plea. So ask yourself, why do these stories stick? Why does every generation here bury a new name in the churchyard, always facing away from the bridge? Maybe because folklore isn't fiction. It's a scar left by whatever's been hiding here, long before it had a name. Let's get one thing straight. Accidents don't play games. They're messy, loud, they leave scars. But what happened to Elias Green? It's too clean, too quiet, too wrong. So let's break it down, piece by piece, second by second, and see why even the cops can't look the family in the eye anymore. The official story, 3:09 p.m., Elias Green texts his sister Sophie. At the bridge, back by 4, he attaches a photo, grinning, one hand resting on the mossy stone arch. Behind him, the sky is clear. No fog, no shadows, just a guy on a hike. 3:22 p.m., a group of hikers half a mile downstream hear a loud crack like a tree splitting. They assume it's the river. 3:47 p.m., Elias's phone stops transmitting data. Last GPS coordinates, directly over Devil's Bridge. 4:15 p.m., Sophie texts him. You okay? No response. 6:30 p.m., search teams arrive. They find Elias's car, his wallet, a half-empty water bottle. No signs of a fall, no broken branches, no drag marks, just silence. The sheriff's conclusion? Tragic misstep. Body swept downstream. But here's where the cracks start showing. The phone ping that defies logic at 9:18 p.m., 6 hours after Elias vanished. His phone connects to a cell tower 10 miles north of Devil's Bridge. For 12 seconds, long enough to send a burst of data, but not enough to trace. Now, let's be real. If Elias fell into the ravine, his phone would have been crushed, waterlogged, dead. So how does a shattered device suddenly wake up and crawl its way to a tower 10 miles through wolf-filled woods? And why did the signal die again before anyone could track it? The sheriff's answer? Ping was a glitch. Phones do that. But here's the kicker. No one has ever gotten a signal at Devil's Bridge. Not even rescue teams with satellites. So either Elias's phone grew wings, or something carried it out. The backpack that's too neat. Day 3 of the search. A volunteer named Ray finds Elias's backpack propped against a pine tree, 2 miles west of the bridge. Here's what's off. The straps are folded. Folded, not torn, not tossed. Like someone placed it there. Inside, a dry notebook, a granola bar, a map with no markings. All items bone dry, despite a rainstorm the night Elias vanished. No mud on the bottom, no scratches, no leaves, as if it teleported from Elias's shoulders to that tree. The sheriff's take? Animals dragged it. But ask any tracker. Animals don't fold straps. They don't wipe off mud. And they sure as hell don't carry gear uphill through a storm. The voices in the dark at 2:17 a.m. on October 15th. Less than 12 hours after Elias vanished, a local named Marta calls 911. She lives 3 miles from the bridge. Her words shaking. There's men, arguing in the woods, but their voices, they're not right. Too deep, too growly. Deputies find nothing. No footprints, no tire tracks, just a patch of melted snow in the shape of a circle, 8 feet wide, grass blackened underneath. 2 nights later, another call. A trucker parked near the bridge swears he heard something big moving in the trees. Not a bear, he says. It was singing, humming, like it knew I was listening. The sheriff's report? Wildlife, overactive imaginations. But here's what they didn't tell the press. 5 other locals reported the same thing. Voices arguing in a language that bent their ears. A stench like rotting eggs. And one man's claim that still chills me. It wasn't human, but it wasn't animal either. It was in between. The photo no one can explain. Remember that last photo Elias sent? The one of him smiling on the bridge? Zoom in. Look at the arch behind him. Enhance the shadows. Adjust the contrast. And there, just over his left shoulder, you'll see it. A shape. Tall. Thin. Hunched. Too tall to be a tree. Too twisted to be a man. Forensic analysts say it's pareidolia. Our brains tricking us. But here's the thing. When you reverse the image, run it through audio filters, it sounds like something. A whisper. 2 syllables. Stay. The timeline that collapses. Let's lay it all out. 3:09 p.m. Elias is alive, texting, laughing. 3:22 p.m. A crack echoes. Hikers assume it's the river. 3:47 p.m. Phone dies. GPS places him on the bridge. 9:18 p.m. Phone pings 10 miles north. 2:17 a.m. Voices in the woods. Melted snow. But wait, Devil's Bridge to that cell tower is a 10-mile hike. Through dense forest. Steep cliffs. At night. In a storm. Even an expert survivalist couldn't cover that ground in 6 hours. Not without gear. Not without light. So either Elias survived a fall, hiked 10 miles in the dark with a broken phone, then died silently. Was kidnapped by someone who drove him out, but left his wallet, keys, and car behind. Or something else found him. Something that moves differently. The expert who walked away in 2019, a retired FBI profiler named Clara Voss, reviewed the case. Her conclusion? This isn't an accident. It's a performance. She points to 3 red flags. The missing scent, search dogs lost Elias's trail at. The bridge, not downstream, not in the woods, right where he stood, as if he vanished mid-step. The dry evidence, even in a storm, Elias's backpack and notebook should have been damp. Unless they were protected. The silence, no screams. No camera dropped. No final photo. Just a recording that ends in white noise. But here's what's strangest. Voss quit the case after 2 weeks. No explanation. When a reporter asked her why, she said, "Some doors shouldn't be opened." The question with no answer, so let's circle back. The official story says accident. The evidence says liar. But here's what keeps me up at night. Why leave the backpack? Why let the phone ping? Why tease the truth? Unless whatever took Elias wanted us to dig, to pick at the cracks, to whisper its name in the dark. Because legends don't survive on truth. They survive on doubt. And Devil's Bridge? It's been feeding for 800 years. When someone vanishes, we claw for answers. Any answer, even the wrong ones. Because the alternative, the void, the not knowing, is worse. So let's lay out the theories. The sane, the twisted, the ones that'll slit your sleep tonight. And you tell me, which one feels like the truth? Theory 1, the sheriff's favorite. Elias slips, hits his head. The river takes the body. Simple, clean, convenient. But let's gut this theory. If Elias fell, where's the blood? The torn fabric on the rocks? The scent for the dogs? Search teams found nothing. Not a shoelace, not a hair. And that river? It's shallow, knee-deep in most spots. You don't wash away in a creek that trickles. Worse, Elias was a climber. He'd scaled Half Dome at 19. This bridge? A flat, mossy path. So either the most experienced hiker in the state tripped over air, or this theory is rotten. Theory 2, maybe it wasn't the bridge. Maybe it was someone. A predator. A psychopath. Someone who stalked Elias, struck when he was alone. But here's the problem. Kidnappers leave traces. Why take Elias but leave his wallet? His car? His phone? And how'd they drag a 180-pound man through miles of wilderness without a single broken branch? No drag marks. No footprints. No tire tracks. Just poof. Unless it wasn't a lone kidnapper. Conspiracy forums lit up with claims of a cover-up. A secret group. A cult. But locals shut that down fast. You think we'd let devil worshippers squat here? We'd burn him out, one bartender spat. Still, cult or not, there's no evidence. Just whispers. Theory 3, nature kills in familiar ways. Bears. Cougars. Hypothermia. But let's autopsy this. A bear attack? There'd be screams. Fur. Scat. A cougar? They stalk. They leave something. And Elias wasn't dressed for a storm. If he froze, they'd find him curled up. Not gone. Then there's the phone ping. 10 miles north. Animals don't carry iPhones. They don't hike. They eat. So unless a particularly tech-savvy wolf is involved, this theory's dead. Theory 4. Now we step into the fog. For centuries, locals have whispered about the bridge's guardian. A thing older than the stones. A thing that hungers. They say it takes a soul every 50 years to keep the river flowing. To keep the woods quiet. 5 disappearances since 1972. All men. All between 20 to 25 years old. All last seen near the central arch. And here's the kicker. Each time, strange things followed. In 1972, a farmer reported black shapes crawling from the bridge's cracks. In 1998, a hiker's camera captured a face in the mist, no eyes, just a gaping mouth. And in 2017, Elias's phone ping, the voices, the melted snow. But it's not just folklore. Geologists can't explain the bridge's stonework. The arches are made of a mineral found nowhere in the state. And in 2003, a team detected abnormal magnetic fluctuations under the bridge, pulses that spiked at night. So what if the bridge isn't a bridge? What if it's a door? A trap? A living thing that chooses its victims? Theory 5, this is where the sheriff's department gets quiet, where case files go missing, because some stories can't be stamped closed. In 1986, 2 loggers vanished near Devil's Bridge. A week later, one stumbled back into town, his hair white, his tongue missing. He scrawled 2 words before dying. IT watches. Then there's the 911 call from 2017, the one they tried to bury. A woman sobbing. There's something out here. It's wearing his face. And the trucker's story, the singing in the trees. The language that made his ears bleed. So let's say it's real. Let's say something lives there. Something that mimics voices. That melts snow. That leaves backpacks like breadcrumbs. Why? Maybe it's bored. Maybe it's lonely. Or maybe like a cat with a mouse, it loves the hunt. Theory 6, not everything supernatural is unnatural. What if the truth is human? Ugly. Greedy. Devil's Bridge sits on land owned by a mining company. A company that's fought for decades to bulldoze it. But locals refuse. The bridge is historic. Sacred. Then, in 2016, a year before Elias vanished, surveyors found something. Gold? Lithium? The reports are sealed. But 2 months after Elias disappeared, the mining company suddenly walked away. No explanation. Coincidence? Or did someone make a deal? Clear the land by clearing the problem? Elias's family thinks so. They wanted us to think it was a ghost, his sister said. But ghosts don't file permits. The unthinkable truth. Here's what no one wants to admit. All these theories? They're right. And they're all wrong. The sheriff's department knows more than they'll say. The miners know. The locals definitely know. But fear keeps their mouths shut. Fear of looking crazy. Fear of lawsuits. Or fear of it. So we're left with this. A bridge that shouldn't exist. A case that can't close. And a family that hears his voice in the wind sometimes. A faint help that fades before dawn. Maybe Elias fell. Maybe he was taken. Maybe he's still out there stuck between the stones. Or maybe the oldest theory is the truest. Some places are born wrong. And Devil's Bridge? It's just getting started. There are 2 kinds of silence. The kind that heals and the kind that eats. Devil's Bridge? It feeds on the second. Let me tell you about Sophie Green. Elias's sister. Every October 14th, she drives to the trailhead, leaves a bouquet of white lilies, his favorite, stares at the bridge, and every year she asks the same question. Why him? The sheriff doesn't answer. The locals look away. Even the forest seems to hold its breath. Because the truth? It's not lost. It's buried. The pattern that screams 5 names. 5 missing posters faded by rain. Star 1972 star, James Carter, 22. Last seen sketching the bridge's arches. Star 1986 star, Tomas Rivera, 24. Vanished during a dawn hike. Star 1998 star, Luke Harlow, 21. Left his tent open, coffee still steaming. Star 2009 star, Noah Ellis, 23. Disappeared while proposing to his girlfriend. Star 2017 star, Elias Green, 24. All young men. All vanished near the central arch. All gone. No bodies. No clues. Just a gap in the world where they used to be. The sheriff calls it coincidence. Bad luck, he says. But Sophie's done the math. 5 men in 50 years. All the same age. All taken in October. The odds of that? 1 in 27 million. So why won't they reopen the case? Why shred the files? Why tell the families to move on? Because some truths are knives. And Devil's Bridge has a handle on every one. The locals who know too much talk to the old woman who runs the gas station. She'll sell you jerky and a lighter. But mention the bridge? Her face hardens. Ain't nothing there, she'll say. Just stories. Stories like her grandfather's. In 1923, he watched a man walk onto the bridge at dusk. Watched the stones ripple like water. Watched the man sink into the arch as if it were quicksand. Or the bartender who serves you bourbon with shaking hands. His brother went missing in '98. He'll tell you about the dreams. The ones where Luke stands waist deep in the river, skin peeling off in strips, begging, "Don't let it take me again." These people know. They've seen the shadows move, heard the bridge hum at midnight, found the piles of deer bones stacked too neatly under the arch. No teeth marks, just arranged. But they'll never speak. Not really. Because the bridge doesn't just take the ones who cross it. It takes the ones who talk. The bodies that aren't missing in 2019, a diver named Marco went into the river. Not to search for Elias. To prove a point. If they died here, I'll find a bone. A tooth. Something. He surfaced 20 minutes later. Pale. Shaking. Refused to speak until the cops arrived. His official statement? Nothing down there. But his wife found the GoPro footage. 40 seconds of murky water. Then a flash, something pale and human-shaped, drifting toward the camera. No face. No features. Just a hand pressing against the lens from the inside. The video? Deleted. Marco. Moved to Arizona. Changed his name. When Sophie tracked him down last year, he answered the door with a shotgun. "I didn't see anything," he hissed. "And neither did you." The bridge that learns the first disappearance in 1972 left a mark. A crack in the central arch. A stain like old blood. In 1998, after Luke vanished, the stain spread. Grew fingers. After Elias, the crack split open. Just an inch. Just enough to see inside. A group of urban explorers went there last year. One shined a flashlight into the crevice. Said it looked like hair. Long black. Clumped like roots. When he reached to touch it, the bridge shuddered. The group ran. But here's what they didn't notice. The crack closed behind them. The reason truth dies here, let's be blunt. Nobody wants this solved. The cops? They're outgunned. Imagine filing a report about possible supernatural involvement. The state would laugh them out of the job. The families? They're tired. Grief is heavy. After years of nothing, even lies start to taste like closure. The miners? The hikers? The YouTubers? They profit from the mystery. Dead men pay better than live ones. And the bridge? It thrives. Every story, every shiver, every bouquet of lilies left to rot at its feet. It's alive, and it's hungry. The question Sophie can't ask 3 years ago. Sophie left a voice recorder at the bridge, hidden in a hollow tree. She hoped for a scream, a moan, a clue. What she got was worse. 48 hours of wind, of creaking stone. Then, at 3:47 a.m., the exact time Elias vanished, a voice. His voice, clear as glass. "Sophie? I'm right here. Can't you see me?" Then static. Then laughter. Low. Wet. Endless. She played it for the sheriff. He handed her a card for a therapist. But Sophie knows. We all do. The bridge isn't done with her. The end. Or the beginning. So why does the truth stay buried? Because some graves won't stay shut. Dig up Devil's Bridge, and you'll find more than bones. You'll find a hunger older than the town, older than the trees. A thing that doesn't just take, it keeps. Elias isn't missing. He's stored, preserved in the dark like the others. Fuel for whatever sleeps under those stones. And the bridge, it's patient. October's coming again. The air's getting colder. The fog's getting thicker. And far away, Sophie Green lights a candle. Waits. Wonders if her brother's voice in the static was a plea or a warning. Let's start with the one thing we all agree on. Silence is the loudest sound in the world. You've heard the facts, the lies, the screams dressed up as campfire tales. But here's the real question, the one clawing at the back of your skull right now. Why does this story stick? Why does a bridge in the middle of nowhere haunt you more than any ghost, any killer, any headline? Because Devil's Bridge isn't just a place. It's a mirror. The shadow in your periphery you tell yourself legends aren't real, that monsters don't hide under bridges. But then, why do you glance twice at your closet tonight? Why does the creak of your house sound deliberate? We need Devil's Bridge. We need it to be real. Because if it's not, if Elias just slipped, if the phone ping was a glitch, if the voices were coyotes, then the world is ordinary. And ordinary is the true horror. But deep down, you've felt it. That prickle on your neck when you're alone in the woods. That dream where you're running but your legs won't move. Devil's Bridge is real because we made it real. Because every time we laugh at a superstition but knock on wood anyway, we feed it. The pattern you can't UNSE 5 disappearances. 5 faces smiling in their final photos. 5 families who hear whispers in the static of old voicemails. Coincidence? Maybe. But history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. The Romans wrote about bridges that demanded sacrifices. The Celts buried their dead under stone arches to trap spirits. Even today in the Alps, hikers tie bells to their packs to scare off what follows. So ask yourself, why does every culture have a Devil's Bridge? Why do the stories match? Why do the missing always look like they're smiling? Because some doors only open one way. The truth that won't die. Sophie Green still texts her brother's phone. Every birthday, every Christmas. Are you there? Last year, she got a reply. Why, yes. The number? Disconnected. The screenshot? Blurry. The sheriff? Silent. But Sophie knows. The bridge doesn't just take. It taunts. The choice you make tonight, you can close this video. Shake your head. Call it all a hoax. Go back to your life, your lights, your locked doors. Or, you can admit it. The world is darker than you pretend. That there are places where the rules bend. Where time frays. Where stones breathe. Devil's Bridge is out there. And it's waiting. Not for you. Not yet. But someday, someone will stand on that arch, feeling brave, feeling immortal, until the fog rolls in. And when they vanish, you'll remember this moment. The moment you started believing. You're here. You're awake. Now ask yourself, what's under your bed right now? Drop a red triangle pointed up, if you'll never look at a bridge the same way. Share this with someone who thinks they're safe. And remember, curiosity didn't just kill the cat. It fed something older.